our common values. You know, we have big powers that are uniting against us, and that's what makes our partnership or working together even more important than in the past. I think that our biggest challenge probably is the young generation. And it started before October 7 and more so after October 7. And there are huge attempts to influence the young generation through social media. Today, truth in the world, they have less value, I think, than in the past. Because each one has his own truth now. You know, nothing is clear, and this is a big challenge that we are all facing. What we believe is, and I think that maybe some of my people already spoke to you about it, Eran Shayovitz and maybe George and others, that the less the young people know the Bible, the further they drift away from Israel. And this is something that has to be dealt with. Because, you know, when they lose connection to the Bible, they lose connection also to our common values and common roots. And I think this we have to address, all of us. And I'll say later on, in a couple of minutes, some things that we do. And we are not just in a battle for security or fighting for our security. It's a bigger fight. It's an educational, cultural, and a fight of ideas, I think, that is happening now in the world. And we have to work together to establish a common strategy, long-term common strategy. We see huge importance into bringing people to Israel. I know that for most of you it's far from being the first trip, but I would say that, I always said it, that Israel probably is the best ambassador of Israel. When people come to Israel, to the Holy Land, they see, first of all, the image in the international press is so bad that nothing could be so bad. But the reality is so good and so much better in Israel, I believe, that the surprise, you know, from my experience for many, many years of meeting people who went to Israel for the first time, it's 99% of the cases, it's a very, very positive spiritual experience for people. And, you know, it's the way, when you come to Israel, you also get connected again to our common roots and to archaeological, historical, and religious sites. But it's also an opportunity for people who visit Israel to have an indirect connection to the Israeli people, to the Israeli society, to the modern Israel also, not only to the ancient roots of Israel. And as someone who really toured the world quite a lot, I must say, and I'm saying it I'm not saying that I'm objective or modest, but I think that Israel is very special. It's a country, the people, and thank you. The country and the people. I don't think that you will find any more resilient people than the Israelis. The challenges made us stronger, I guess. And, you know, we are used to fighting. People coming from outside sometimes find it very hard to understand how we bear it, but that's how we grew up. I'm over 60 now, and I grew up into that. I went like every Israeli, did my military service. I was an officer in the paratroopers. I did the whole tour like every Israeli, and I didn't know anything else. It's not that I had an alternative. That's life. You accept it, and you make the best out of it. And maybe the cherry on the cake here is the fact that if you come to Israel, you can also see the most amazing, vibrant innovation scene of Israel, which is part of the need of this very small country with little resources. Now, I think, thanks to the very strong shekel, we made it to being one of the number 20 or something like that in the world GDP per capita. So I think this is strength. Again, we are doing it while people going to reserves, while fighting, and we still are resilient enough to continue and develop our country. What we are doing with the Christian young generation, and I'm sure you were told about it, but we have programs of bringing young leadership to Israel to show them a little bit of Israel, to make them see their Israeli young people also, to make a connection and to strengthen with them the understanding of the deep Judo-Christian roots, common roots that we have. We are doing quite a lot of activities, I must say. Delegations, conferences, events, projects. Now they are going to be around October 7th, the prayer event with millions around the world praying with us together. We are going to have the NRB conference in Israel, and we are working strongly on really deepening our cooperation. I want to really thank the Christian Embassy for being here a partner in all this endeavor, and different partners who also joined this event. Thank you also for everything you're doing for Israel. It's immensely important for us. As you met Ambassador George Dick, who was appointed as our special envoy, special ambassador for the Christian world, and I hope this will bring also some benefits into our relations, but it's also a signal of the importance we attach to the Christian world and the cooperation. So, you know, some closing words, I would say that we have a very strong belief and conviction in the fact that we are going to win every challenge. Without that, it's very hard to survive, I believe, in our area. We believe that we have support from above to reach any challenge, to fight every challenge we have, but also, thank you. But we see that as a process, and the process has a meaning for us on the way, on how to get there, and with whom we get there. You know, what we have now with the U.S., what we had with the U.S. and have in the U.S. around Iran is one example. You know, we are not alone. We are not alone. We are fighting together, shoulder to shoulder, to safeguard our society, which in many places is not going towards good direction, I believe, unfortunately. But out of big challenges, you see deep connections that are created, a big commitment for a stronger and better future. And this challenge is making us closer and stronger, all of us. So I would like to finish by really thanking all my team. Ambassador Dan Oryan was mentioned here. Tami Ben Chaim, who is also here around us, but there are many more people who worked to make, Vital who was here, who helped, but there are many more people here who worked behind the scenes to make this evening and your visit in general a success. So bless you all, and thank you very much again for all your support.
Thank you, Ambassador Gillon. By the way, did anyone bring the bell? No? Just in case. All right. It's my great honor as a proud American to introduce our special guest tonight, Ambassador Mike Huckabee. Of course, he's had this incredible journey as a Baptist pastor in Arkansas, to the governor of the great state of Arkansas, the host of a prominent, popular Fox News TV show, and now appointed the U.S. ambassador to Israel, the first evangelical ambassador. I think it's maybe 15, 16 now. And it took a while, but this is an incredible moment for all of us. We're in a special moment as evangelical Christians from around the world, and especially for us Americans, having someone that God has raised up as a Christian statesman for him to speak for us. I remember being in this building when Stephen Harper, the Prime Minister of Canada, came and spoke as an evangelical Christian, pro-Israel. Yes, Donna, you know, the Canadians. I'm not Canadian, but I can tell you there are few public servants who speak about Israel that speak for me and speak my heart. And I believe Ambassador Huckabee does that as well. And of course, we could list a lot of good things that President Trump has done for Israel in his first and second administration now, moving the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, something it's an issue that I lobbied for and did the first draft of the bill to move the embassy back in Washington in 1995. I fought that for many years, and 22 years later, finally, President Trump did the right thing. He recognized the Golan. He changed the State Department view on the settlements and things like this. But it's a long list, but no list is complete without noting that President Trump appointed Mike Huckabee as the U.S. ambassador to Israel. This belongs in that list of wonderful things that Trump has done for this nation. Please, Mike.
Thank you, Daddy. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. I want to say, David, that was one of the best introductions I've ever heard. It was worth every penny I paid for it. I want you to know. What a delight to be with you, and I want to commend the Foreign Ministry for their visionary sponsorship and hosting of this event. I want to tell you a couple of things from the perspective of an ambassador that works with the Foreign Ministry every single week in so many different ways. I cannot imagine a better partner for the evangelical community around the world than Gideon Saar and the Foreign Ministry of the State of Israel. And I want to be specific about a few things. I have watched as they have reached out to bring pastors here so they would simply get to know this country. Nothing is more effective. And I just feel that when people come, you don't have to give them propaganda. You don't have to twist their arm. You don't have to try to steer them to only see a few things. Just say, go about the country. Open your eyes, open your ears, talk to people. Not people that someone has suggested that you talk to. Just talk to the people on the streets. Get a feel for it. And you will go back as an ambassador for what God is doing in this amazing holy land, and some of the most extraordinary work about helping people to understand this country is being done right here in this building by Foreign Minister Gideon Saar and his incredible staff. I know you have appreciated them, you have expressed it, but I want to say it from the perspective of someone now who lives here and who works with the Foreign Ministry. And I want to say that it's such a privilege for me to be able to give some specific examples. This morning early, I got up about 5, and I was looking through my text messages, and I had one from a longtime colleague of mine when I was at Fox News in New York. And you would know her name if I told you, but I'm not, because I don't want to somehow break her out here in case somebody might want to be upset with her question. But she asked me this question. She says, I'm hearing all of this very, very tragic news about how Israel is treating Christians. And the media keeps telling me that Christians aren't safe in Israel and that they are not welcome there. And they're not treated well there. And I sent back to her and I said, well, first of all, you and I have both worked in a news operation. And we understand that while we like to think we always told the truth, we're living in a world where there is a lot of fake news. And I want you to mark this down as fake news. And I told her, I said, not only is it a very safe place for Christians, and I feel totally comfortable living here. I play bass guitar in my church praise band every Sunday. Nobody gives me a hard time about that. I don't get arrested by the government for going to church or being a part of a church. I've never had someone spit on me. I've never had someone heckle me. other than my wife. She does. No one else. I've been coming to this land for 53 years as of next month. My first trip was the summer of 1973. And I'd been here over 100 times before the president sent me here to be ambassador. So I was pretty familiar with Israel. And it was not a shock to me to understand the culture, the lifestyle, and I didn't need a tourist map to find my way around. But in all of those years and all of those trips, and now having lived here for a year and a half, I just can tell you that I can't think of any greater welcome that I could have received, and not just from the official channels of the government, but from the people on the streets and everywhere I go in this country. I'm amazed at the reception that people have toward me, knowing full well that I am a Bible-believing evangelical Christian. It does not offend people. It does not scare them. It gives them a sense of comfort and camaraderie. But Foreign Minister Saar did something that I think is remarkable, and I was telling my friend back at Fox, and I said, you may not know this, but not only is the Christian population growing in Israel when it is declining, almost collapsing in every other country in the entire region. It's the only place where the Christian population has grown since 1948, substantially. But I said, the foreign minister just recently appointed as a full-fledged ambassador a Christian whose job as ambassador is to provide outreach to the Christian community. I said, I don't know if you thought about this, but nobody, not just in this region, certainly nobody in this region has said, let's reach out to the Christian world. But the United States does not have an ambassador to the Christian community. And I said, so if Israel hates Christians so much, they are doing a lousy job of showing it. If anything, they are reminding us that they welcome us. And it's one of the reasons that I'm so grateful that the Foreign Ministry is the sponsor, and I'm not surprised, because they realize that the best friends that Israel has are Bible-believing evangelical Christians, especially from America, I believe from Europe as well, and the rest of the world, in Asia. But I don't want us to ever lose that edge. I don't want the Christians of the United States to forget that our reason for standing with Israel is not political. Oh, we may admire some of the political savvy of its leaders and of its resilience in the face of all kinds of war. Fair enough. We might really be amazed at the economy of Israel, who since October the 7th has seen its stock market increase by 100%. Where does that happen? After 5 wars, and the stock market is up 100%. Over the past year, they've had a GDP growth in their economy. In a war, no, actually in 5 wars on every front, with all of the military spending that they have to do in order to defend their very existence, and yet their GDP growth is up, not down. In most countries where there is this kind of kinetic action, the economy collapses. It has not collapsed in Israel. They have the highest per capita income of anyone in the region, almost 10.5 times of its closest neighbors. And if you ask yourself, oh, say, what is going on here? But it's not the politics, and it's not the economy. It is not the diplomacy. I've just told you, I think that the foreign ministry here is exemplary in what they have done. And I'm so glad George Deek was able to be a part of this conference. I couldn't imagine that you would have had it without him. But what a treasure for the people of Israel. What a treasure for the world. And what a statement it is that he has the position as an ambassador. But above all, it is not diplomatic. It is not economic. It is not political. And it is not even military. And Israel has an amazing military. It is astonishing that a tiny little country of 10 million people outpunches its weight over and over again when it is threatened with its existence by those who have 10 times the population, many more times the military budget, and yet it doesn't just survive, it thrives. So is that what the secret is? And I would say to you, no, it's none of that. The secret is that 3,800 years ago, God told Abraham, I'm going to create a people, and you're it. And I'm going to put you in a place, and this is it. And this is going to be your place, and I'm going to give you a purpose, and you're going to fulfill it. And it doesn't matter who rises up against the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And it does not matter how dark sometimes the night may get, because as it says in the Psalms, joy comes in the morning. And we are living in a land that is able to exceed what it should be able to do, whether it's the military, the economy, diplomacy, agriculture, technology. And the reason is none of those things. The reason is because God Almighty put his hand on the land, and because God himself has said, this is how you will know that I am God. And I believe we see it from the Bible. So I leave you with one of my favorite stories. 53 years ago when I first came to Israel, this was not the vibrant startup nation that it is today. It was like a third world country in many ways, struggling, having a difficult time, everybody fighting against it all the time, trying to destroy it. And I was here just before the Yom Kippur War, although I didn't know that was about to happen. I might not have come had I known that. What I saw was land that was fairly barren, an economy that struggled, roads that didn't exist for the most part except 2 lanes, and most of the cars were old junkers that had been shipped in from Russia. Most people lived on kibbutzim out of necessity because they couldn't afford to live apart in single-family homes. It wasn't the real estate boom that it is now. Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, 2 of the most expensive real estate markets in the entire world. It wasn't like that in 1973. On Fridays, go to the old city, the Bedouins were running their livestock right through the old city. And it wasn't a tourist moment. It wasn't for photos. It was that the sheep and the goats and the lambs and the camels were there to be sold, and that's why they were there. And it was just almost like a step back in time. Roll the clock forward 53 years, and what was desert is now rich farmland and vineyards and forests and groves, an extraordinary agricultural output that just is astonishing, especially in light of the fact that this used to be nothing but desert. But I have seen the dry bones come to live. I've seen the desert bloom before my very eyes in coming here. And I know there are those who would give it all to just human innovation and human hard work. And yes, there's a part of that. The Israeli farmer that bought some acreage down in the Negev, he purchased the land and there was nothing there. I mean, it was just rocks and sand. It looked like the desert of Arizona. But he worked it hard. He took one of the great Israeli inventions called drip irrigation, and he created a lush farm. And after 5 years of very, very hard work, he was growing fruits and vegetables, and it was a beautiful place. One day his rabbi came out to see him, and he looked around, and he remembered what it was like when he first bought that land. And he said to the farmer, "Oh, my son, what you and God have done with this place." And the farmer wiped the sweat from his brow and said, "Yeah, Rabbi, well, you should have seen it when God had it all by himself." Now, there's a little truth to that story, but I want you to know that the resilience and the hard work of the Israelis, combined with the hand of God, have given us one great reminder that he is still on his throne. His word is true. And when everything else fails, we can trust the Bible, and we can trust the heart and the hand of Almighty God to keep every promise that he has made to the Jew and to the Christian. He will keep those promises. There's no such thing as replacement theology, because to think that means that God would break his promise, and if he breaks it to the Jew, he breaks it to me as a Christian. I want a God who keeps his promise. I believe in a God who keeps his promise, and I'm glad to be in a land where we get to see the promises of God every single day. Thank you all. God bless you for coming to Israel. Make it one of many, many trips which you are here. Thank you.
He's been here a year and a half already. It's just going too fast. It seems like he just got here yesterday in a way. Okay, we are going to have the Jerusalem Conservatory of Music and Dance, the two dear sisters and their colleague, play once again for us. And afterwards, my colleague Nick Hansen is going to come and lead a panel discussion. Okay.